Welcome to Consciousness Unfiltered. Get ready for a very different, vulnerable and uncensored conversation with Dr. Anthony Mattis and his amazing guests. They'll be sharing the powerful tools of Access Consciousness that have helped thousands of people all over the world to create change in every area of their lives.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Consciousness Unfiltered. This is Dr. Anthony Mattis. So the title of today's discussion is vulnerability. Is it a weakness or a capacity? Now, I know all of us have been taught that, in today's world, really in every day's world, the past, the present, and the future, that being vulnerable is probably not your best choice because people could take advantage of you. You may be sort of like naive or ignorant to particular perpetrators, but what if the opposite was true? And, we'll be sharing the tools of Access Consciousness, as I've talked about in my previous podcast, the tools that were created by Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness and co-creator, Dr. Dain Heer. We talk about in the foundation class, which is a class you have to take after the bars class, we talk about the 5 elements of intimacy. And we talk about honor, trust, allowance, gratitude, and vulnerability. But today I want to talk about vulnerability in a sense of what if there was a whole different take on the idea of vulnerability? So for those of you out there who've maybe been abused verbally, physically, sexually, or maybe you've been in, just bad relationships, right? And so the walls go up. We automatically put the walls up, right? It automatically creates fight or flight, right? And so we constantly live in fear. We constantly do things every day to avoid having that same pain again, right? So we protect ourselves. And so whatever wounds that we may have experienced throughout our lives because of, traumatic events, abuse, whatever, we create that scab over time. They say time heals wounds, right? And so when you think about the body, if you get a scrape on your knee over, a few days, it forms a scab, right? And the scab eventually falls off. The problem with a lot of emotional hurt, a lot of emotional pain, and especially tragic events that you've been through is it forms a scab, but that scab never actually goes away. So you spend your whole life trying to avoid opening up that scab again. And, you may miss out on opportunities of being in a great relationship or creationship because you don't trust anybody anymore, whether it's going into business with someone or starting a new business or trying a new relationship, after a traumatic divorce or something like that. So anyway, so in Access Consciousness, Gary talks about how vulnerability we have a different point of view about vulnerability. See, in Access Consciousness, we talk about how consciousness includes everything and judges nothing. And in the case of vulnerability, what we're actually inviting you to is to be as the open wound. Now, I know automatically your barriers are probably going up right now. Like, no way. When you have an open wound on your body, it's like it hurts even when the wind blows. But what if you are functioning as an open wound, you are sensitive to everything that's around you, meaning you are so acutely aware of everything. You may not have the reason and justification for it, but not to go down that street. Not to drive at a certain particular time of day. You may not know why, but because you actually have your barriers down, because you're willing to function as an open wound, you are sensitive to all things around you, both seen and unseen. And so you'll know if that cute guy who seems nice, has got money, dressed really well, you'll know if he's a scumbag. You may not know why. And all your friends may look at you like, What's the matter with you? He's sweet. He's kind. And you'll be like, it's just not right. It's not right for me to see that guy again. Or vice versa. If you're a dude, or whatever your preference is, okay? Gosh, we got to be so politically correct these days, you know? So whatever your flavor of choice is, let's just say. If you're willing to be as the open wound, if you're willing to not function from barriers, if you're willing to not function from all your past hurts, if you're willing to live your life in 10-second increments, like we've talked about in other podcasts, then you could be aware of any situation in any given moment. Now, you may not have all the facts. You may not have the reason and justification to explain to your friends why you're not going to go into business with so-and-so, or why you're not going to go shag the cute person who seems really nice and kind, the person you may have been waiting for the last 10 years. You'll know. And the reason why you'll know is because you don't have the barriers up. What if that scab over the wound is what actually makes you unaware, unconscious? What if having your barriers up or having that scab over that wound actually creates scenarios that are undesirable because you're totally unaware? You're ignorant. Now, I'm not talking about intelligence. That's another thing. I'm talking about awareness. So what if being vulnerable is being totally aware? Barriers down. When your barriers are down, you are aware of everything. When your barriers are down, you are aware of the good, the bad, and the ugly of you and everyone else. Now, here's the key. So in Access, we talk about consciousness includes everything and judges nothing. So it's like, what if you were willing to receive everything, to be aware of the good, the bad, and the ugly of you and everybody else without a point of view? One of the 10 keys to freedom we talk about in Access is living an interesting point of view. Like, everything's just an interesting point of view. So as your awareness starts to expand and you become aware of all these different things, like even your own children, are you willing to recognize that your kids can be assholes sometimes? Are you willing to recognize that you could be an asshole sometimes? Are you willing to realize that your parents can be assholes sometimes? Are you willing to recognize that your own religion that you've been so dedicated for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you know, maybe there's some things about it that don't quite match what's actually going on. But if you're willing to look at that with no point of view, then you could actually have total receiving. You could be aware. Nobody could pull the wool over your eyes, so to speak. So as Mr. Douglas, again, Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, says, vulnerability is being willing to receive anything, including the fact that the person is an asshole and that you're an asshole sometimes. In vulnerability, you are willing to show up, warts and all, and not try to prove that you are perfect, not try to prove that you've got it all together. But you be there with a sense of no walls, no barriers, no wrongness, and no rightness. Vulnerability is not about being a doormat. Okay, vulnerability is also saying, you know what, I'm sorry, that just doesn't work for me. Vulnerability is the willingness to be any energy that's required in a given 10 seconds. If someone's being an asshole to you, I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me. I don't let my friends treat me that way. Why would I let you treat me that way? Vulnerability is total awareness, total receiving. So one of the gifts that Access Consciousness provides is it creates that space of total receiving. It creates that space of total vulnerability. How? Well, the first place we start is in a class called the bars, which is a hands-on technique that deals with these 32 points on your head, that the person that's giving the bars actually gently touches these 32 points on the head, that it deals with these bars of energies that run from one side of your brain to the other. And when you gently touch these areas, it's sort of like doing like a disk cleanup on your computer, a disk fragmentation, so to speak. And it deals with the areas of money, creativity, sadness, joy, healing, kindness, gratitude, peace, and calm, just to name a few. And when you gently touch these areas, it's sort of like pressing the reset button, so to speak. But overall, what it creates for the person receiving and also the person giving is it creates this sense of receiving and vulnerability, this sense of melting into just the allowance of creating this space of this kind, caring, nurturing, healing energies that most of us are not willing to receive, because we are all living in this fight or flight mode. Like, when's the ball going to drop? When is that person going to bite me? They're too kind. I'm waiting for their dark side to come out. Well, what if you didn't have a point of view about someone's dark side? If you were willing to see the dark side in other people, then you won't have any judgment of it when it actually shows up. That's vulnerability. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. But if you get to have your barriers up, you're going to be deluded. You're going to be deluded. You're going to be tricked. You're going to be scammed. So my invitation to you is find a bars practitioner if you've never had your bars ran. And if you're someone who knows about the bars, commit to receiving bars once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. I did when I was going through my grieving, and I get my bars ran once and twice a week still. Why? Because it opens me up to greater possibilities. It allows me to be that space of vulnerability. Because the more vulnerable I am with my children, the more vulnerable I am with my wife, the more vulnerable I am with my clients, my patients, the greater that they have to reach for, the greater possibilities it creates for them and me together. The more you're willing to be vulnerable, the more aware of what the earth requires, your community requires, the world requires. You don't close yourself off to anything. If you have a particular political party that you usually adhere to, it's not being ignorant to the fact that they're not perfect either. Total vulnerability is total awareness. Again, the willingness to see the good, the bad, and the ugly in all things without a judgment, without having a point of view. But you could still choose from that space of awareness. Hey, you know what? This isn't going to work for me. Hey, you know what? The pastor is an asshole today, or the rabbi. So for 3 days, my invitation to you is to practice vulnerability. Remove those scabs, remove those walls and barriers. You've heard me ask you, are you an infinite being or a finite being? Can an infinite being truly be hurt? No. So why do you have that point of view? So what if total vulnerability gives you access to everything, mainly yourself? It gives you the access to total and complete awareness so that you will know not to go down that street that day. You will know not to go out on that date again with that person. You will know not to go into business with that individual, no matter how good it seems on paper. You'll know. Why? Because you are the space of vulnerability. You are as the open wound, and you're totally aware of every little thing all the time. Well, I hope that helped, and I hope you're willing to practice vulnerability for at least 3 days, but hopefully for the rest of your life. And if you want to find out more information about me and the tools of Access Consciousness, you can check me out at www.dranthonymattis.com. Take care for now.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. If this conversation has been a contribution to you, please share, subscribe, or leave a review. For more about Anthony, please come visit DrAnthonyMattis.com. And if you'd like to know more about the amazing tools of Access Consciousness, you can go to www.accessconsciousness.com.